So I want to show you how the majority of the world is under the demonic energies. We had this guy that couldn't even put his head up. Let's see if his head's still down at a 45-degree angle, almost pinned to the ground by whatever monster is controlling him. Yo.
This is the 3747. You too. Bye.
Yo. Do you have time for me to put it in an order now?
Right now it's an hour wait.
That's fine.
Okay.
Be honest. I'm thinking I just want chicken and lo mein.
Okay, still an hour though.
Now, yeah, what do you think's best? Like the Kung Pao or the General Tso's or the other ones? I'm thinking Kung Pao, but what do you think's best? Like,
I
for you
mean,
guys.
those tastes are really so whichever one you like.
Okay.
I feel like.
I don't know. Definitely beef lo mein.
Okay, so far, what did you want?
Have you had this place before? Yeah. What's better for the chicken? It's all good. It's all good. I'll take Kung Pao.
So what's the order so far?
Kung Pao and lo mein.
What kind of lo mein?
Beef.
Okay. So one order Kung Pao chicken and one order lo mein, right? So 21.20.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Do I need to? Thank you. We have 1 hour. Holy shit. It's popping. You think that was mean? You think she was being a little mean? Maybe she's just busy. I was like, what do you think's better? Because General Tso's chicken usually, and I'm not going to say it, but General Tso's chicken usually, they have a couple dishes that they don't really give a fuck about. And then they have dishes that they really care about, and it's like their pride and joy. They're like, I fucking love my Kung Pao chicken. It's my favorite. It's the best thing on the menu. But it usually takes longer to do. And they're probably swamped on Christmas. So I was trying to get her to be like, yeah, our best dish is definitely the Kung Pao chicken. But we might force you to do General Tso's because it takes less time and we can get more done. But I'm like, it's fucking Christmas and I'm alone and my family are so mentally disabled they can't function. And I have a disorder where I have been traumatized psychologically as a child to not really have a sense of stagnant identity, and then found out I'm a Sagittarius, and that's exactly what they do and what they are, is the momentum-based constant change, which is very exploitable through psychological trauma to keep you in a state of becoming what they want you to be. Does that make sense? So they have cardinal stagnant signs like Aquarius and Leo. Aquarius isn't exactly stagnant, but what's stagnant about them is their delusion that you'd call narcissistic projection. But that's just me. We're all possessed by mycelial network. Ooh, is it a cop? No. But it's the same car that was following me earlier. There was another car that I called out earlier today in a video I just recorded before I went live. There was a car that was following me, and that one slowed down again. So he's back. So that was $21 for chicken and lo mein. We're gonna see what it is. I heard that one's better because this one over here that we're headed to, they say people get food poisoning. And I said in the grocery store, I was like, that's a terrorist organization. And the girl laughed, and then she felt really bad that she laughed, and then she treated me with disdain afterwards. I was like, hey, are you local? She was like, yeah. I was like, what's the best Chinese food place? And she was like, oh, you can go to the one in Stowe because I have a nice coat. So they didn't assume that I'm living on the ground. So I was like, I meant just like out of the two that are here. She's like, oh, definitely the one in this parking lot. The other one gives you food poisoning. It's okay. So I don't know. If I had $40, I might get one of both. They said that this one was the best though. They said the other one was bad. No, they didn't. They said this one was bad. But the employee is standing right there listening to what I just said. Battle for your brain, guess what? So I recorded another video. I took a piss outside in the forest. My hand was so cold, I didn't button myself back up and put the phone down. I just kind of held it sagging, my pants. And I'm wearing like 3 layers of long johns and pajamas. So it's not bad. But the cop that's on tonight drove by me with my pants sagging. So my hair's long and it's getting into dreadlocks now. And I'm walking around in a Tommy Hilfiger coat, which only people from New York wear. And I have my pants sagging so my ass shows. Holding it like I'm holding a gun. Walking around with my boots untied. Down a main road. So he slowed down and he turned around and tried to follow me, but I cut into Hannaford's. And then he was around, but then I went live and he disappeared. So I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas. Looks like these guys have closed for the evening, but it's an hour wait for the rest. See what these guys do. We're looking for the lo mein. I'm looking for, give me the goddamn fucking lo mein right now. Give me the goddamn fucking, okay, there's the lo mein, it's $8. Now how much is the goddamn chicken? Where's the chicken, guys? Help me find the chicken. Zoom in and read. Where's the chicken? They're watching. They're fucking watching, the... I'm one of you. I'm also a terrorist organization. Okay, chicken is $12 here, so it's more expensive here. And people are saying it's kind of worse. But I think they're just saying that because the other one was local, but we're gonna find out. Because next week, as soon as I get a job, the first thing I'm doing is getting Chinese. Just so you guys remember, I've been trying to get a job for 8 months, but I refuse to not be secretive about my unhoused identity, and I refuse to cut my hair because I'm indigenous. So many places started up rumors, and they prevented me from working for about 150 miles, where I will go to places, and I'll just do my normal stuff, practicing being an auditor, you know, and then watching how they respond. So I've been beaten like I've been to jail like 4 times. In the past 3 years, I've probably been assaulted by police. I wouldn't say beaten. I think I was beaten twice. I wouldn't count what Audette did beating because he forced my arm into a painful wrist lock and then locked it as tight as he could so it would be in pain. And it forced my arm into this really bad position that hurt the whole time after he sprayed my mouth, nose, eyes, and ear and whole face, which took like 45 minutes to get it out, and I couldn't breathe. And then they wouldn't tell me if there was an ambulance or not, so they kept me in a state of fear that I might die and I had to have them they stood over me and poured water into my nose and eyes and mouth, and I had to choke myself to breathe. And then at the very end, he says I spit in his face. The sheriff that helped me get the torture cuffs undone in the hospital said that he personally had to wipe off his face. He told everybody that I spit on his equipment on his neck, never hit his face at all, and ruined $300 of equipment. So he tried to charge me $300 and demanded I write him an apology letter. Then he showed up because I posted on my channel all the different times they had stalked and harassed me for the next month, where they kept coming back to try to stunt on me because they thought that they won. So they came back to bully me further because they had gotten me. They got me on my knees and put a bottle in my face like I was sucking a dick because I couldn't breathe and I had to. And they laughed and wouldn't tell me if an ambulance was coming or not. You heard? So they made me think it's not. At the very end, when I spit, because one guy was loading me onto the ambulance and the other guy put my arm in that position, locked my wrist, yanked it backwards in a desperate attempt to dislocate my shoulder because I was not resisting. The other guy had no issue putting my arm in that position where the cuffs were fine and not tight. The other guy went really, really far out of his way to do all that to me. So at the very end, right when he was about to lose sight of me where he had to stay, he yanked my arm backwards. I said, "Fuck you." And I spit. Spit didn't connect to him. I don't think it even hit him, if I'm being honest with you. I think that was a good excuse. And I had been spitting the whole time. I think that was a good excuse for him. He made up to pile drive me into the ambulance, into the metal stairs. He just forced his body weight on me, and then he choked me out. So in the video, you can hear me screaming, "Why? Because your feelings are hurt?" The guy was choking me out. Then when they came back, when I started posting that I had video evidence of them stalking and harassing me, they showed up with a mental health worker. The mental health worker was claiming, because of what I was saying about white people, that I don't like white people. And I keep a list of all the white people that have hurt me, and that I hope they get what they deserve, which could mean a whole lot of different things. But the evidence would suggest, I'm talking about lawsuits, that they were already in fear of losing their careers and their authority that they abuse in this small town. That there was really no reason to believe that I was talking about killing white people. But they showed up and said that I was threatening to hurt white people. I didn't say anything. I held my breath. One cop broke my Fourth Amendment right to search my tent, to look inside, where you had to open the zipper to look inside. It's not freely there. They had to enter my abode by way of opening the tent flap, unzipping it. Then he lied about seeing me breathing when I was holding my breath. Then my pallet is on a cliffside, as you guys have seen. He tried to go around and destabilize my environment by kicking the pallets, moving the pallets, trying to make me accidentally fall down a cliffside. At the very end, he kicked me. Angry white stomping around mad at Christmas. But after that, and he lied about me breathing, he said that if I didn't answer, he was going to rip me out of the tent and hurt me like he did last time. Verbatim. I'm pretty sure verbatim means word for word. So I said, I plead my Fifth Amendment right. They scrambled. There was a young cop there along with Audette. and this old mental health worker named Kathy from the Lamoille County Mental Health. And she said, if I don't answer what day of the week it is, she's going to haul me away to an institution. I said, that paper is not a good way to perceive somebody's mental health. And you should be able to extrapolate by my calm demeanor and intelligent conversation that I, in fact, do not have mental illness. And I think that you should be assessing the mental illness of these police. And then I said, did you really just threaten me with violence if I didn't answer? Were you really going to hurt me if I didn't answer? And then he went, the young cop that's on coke said, well, we're beyond that point now, so it doesn't matter. Then he threatened to make up charges. He threatened to, while he was already trespassing on private property, he threatened to use the trash of the area. And this is called Tent City, Tent Village, where there's trash throughout the whole place. So he threatened to say that I did all that trash and he was going to charge a lot of money for that. He was like talking like this. I'm going to get you for littering. You did do it. I'm going to get you for littering. He said it like that, like a crazy cartoon character. Like I do when I'm performing for content, you know? When I just can't stand these goddamn junkies. He was like, I'm going to fucking get you for littering. You did do it. And what have I done to this guy? I just existed. I just did exactly what I'm doing now, but depressed. I'm doing exactly what I'm doing right now, but depressed. I spent lots of money in this plaza on the McDonald's and at the dollar store. I've spent, in food stamps, I've spent over $1,500 just to that business alone, which paid for 4 people's salary for them to be able to be employed. And what did I get, guys? Targeted harassment, systematic abuse by people with qualified immunity who knows how hard it is to sue somebody. So they take advantage of it by traumatizing them so bad and then continuously coming back to keep them in a state of fear so that it impedes their progress to do anything in life. You feel me? Battle for your brain. Where have you been? This has been happening since August 26th. It really heated up August 26th, but it's been happening. It happened last year down the road there by the gym that I used to go to. They used to swerve their car at me and speed by with the window down, staring me down wide like they're on crack, trying to stare me down and then swerving the car as close as possible, going 60 miles an hour through a parking lot several times for a week straight. And I was sitting outside a food shelf working with community action programs to get me full of gas, get me just anything where I kind of go places and I keep a positive vibe and I hope for the best. I wait to see how God is working in the environment and I take action on opportunities presented to me. So I was doing that, and I was also struggling with severe mental health, PTSD and depression. I had just overcome living in a war zone where there were crackheads with hatchets coming at me and trying to rape and steal my friends that were underage, that were homeless and runaways. And they were being hit on and almost forced to sleep with the staff members at Spectrum. And I was kicked out of the programs for vocalizing what I was seeing and looking for a way to stop that systemic abuse. I was no longer eligible for the program. Then I had to fight more people. I was helping community action programs deal with the homeless because I wanted to make a difference. I helped a lot of people that were suffering with mental health illness. I also wanted to help homeless people step into their role as mental health workers by teaching them and telling them stories about what's helping me. What the hell? We have an extension cord where I usually put stuff. Then I started performing. I continued to make music and I started performing and doing shows at college parties. And then someone named Patrick, who is now infamous as the worst homeless man in Vermont because he's just a small guy that he has actual schizophrenia, but I don't think he does. I think he's religious. I think he's spiritual. But he gave me his car on the August 9th, right after the Lionsgate portal, to go see my dad on the 10th. And I asked God several times, like, if I should go see my dad. It's an extension cord. If I should go see my dad, please give me a shooting star. And then I didn't get one, but my dad got one, and he messaged me. So I drove down there. Had an okay time. It was a lot of everything that I've learned against everyone that left me to die that eventually I left behind. So there was a reconfrontation of the new me versus the pitiful pieces of shit that my hometown has become. And I beat them. I stressed them out. I won. They had to survive in a lie. So they held whatever they could. So, Casey's got a lot more character now. He's got a lot more integrity. He's always been smart. He's always been attractive. But now there's something about him that they just can't put, and it challenges their masculinity because I'm just existing. But they used to thrive on the fact that I was out of my mind from being institutionalized, that they could operate under the guise that Casey is a sick child with behavior issues. Now that I have that sturdy integrity, everywhere that I went, my hometown got offended and got aggressive with me. My old friends that used to be like your day ones that are like, I'll support you the whole way, turned on me. They started trying to shit on me in front of my father on his birthday. So I walked that bitch back into his office. He was a team lead at McDonald's, and he was married. Then he got a job as a car salesman, left his wife, and he's of the same caliber as these fake whites that are detached from the ground, that operate only on your wealth and your status and all that garbage. It was like he was kidnapped and slowly absorbed by an invasive amalgamate. And he was no longer the person that I grew up with. Which is why in the Bible it says to leave everything you've learned and turn back to what you knew. Turn back to what you heard and knew before what you've been through. Which is exactly what I've been saying about how to heal traumas in my life, is to revert back to a previous iteration. Kind of when you go to bed at night when you're fasting, start to remember your old self and remember your memories that you've been forgotten because they've been keeping you in a parasitic loop. Jesus just put, the demons are possessing you. You need to fast to get them out so that you can remember who you were. It's just the same thing, but I don't have the same terminology as they did 2,000 years ago. We're saying the same stuff. And I did this life, guys, before I go back off on my friends and my dad and seeing shooting stars and aliens and the universe loving you and it being everything and everything is us and we are everything. Fuck, this car distracted me. Goddamn, I was talking about your memories come through. And it becomes you and you get healed in the terminology of Jesus. Damn, I literally got shut down remotely. That car showed up and hit the back of my head, and it felt like something used them to dissolve the thought that I had in my head, the light that I had just amalgamated to share with you. I was talking about my friends being dorks and losing their minds, and what the Bible says seems to be accurate in my life. Oh, okay, I got it. It just shot back from the same current. So it felt like the information jumped through like a Finding Nemo turtle water vortex of everywhere that I went, the current of information. And it felt like it got dumped back in, and then it shot through the current back into the back of my mind. For whatever reason, that's how it felt. And that we have loud noises around me. The same type of truck just circled me on both sides. Same size and everything. Which is I went through this life because I didn't want to get an education from an institution. I didn't want to live a pretend life. I didn't want to be a part of the society that abused me. I felt like there was something wrong, and I felt that there was more value in living the way I'm doing now. I knew that getting a job, getting a car, and all this, where people are like, that gets your life back on track. What it does is it takes you from the ground. Whereas every other religion, every hero that you have, anyone you can find on the internet that's successful, your presidents, group leaders, ancient, like down in Ethiopia, where they have like the base model of Christianity. It all talks about the value in laying on what's below this concrete, screaming as it's trying to raise up to the sun, but has nowhere to get out, and is forced to be a sunken node living in the undercurrent that everyone stomps on all day, while it slowly feeds resources to these trees that made it, hoping that they grow big enough to have enough nutrients to come back and support what was bulldozed by some white prick that got too fat, lost his ability to gain erections, and now walks around and hurts everyone he sees, holding on to the perceived power he got because his grandparents abused enough slaves to give him the opportunity, and gaslighting anyone they can into capitalism. Funny thing that junkies do is that in this Great Awakening, junkies have this big wake up to, and I've helped guide a lot of people through this, is that when there's leaves on the trees, they have this big wake up moment where the trees kind of connect together and your ancestors come through the root system of Gaia, and they wake them up to the connection of the trees and the forest and nature. And you'll see them sprint to the closest body of water to just get their hand in the water, and they'll like feel on the leaves and feel the grass, and they're just like downloading and letting the sort of like spiritual bugs or bacteria crawl onto them and then maintain a light protection so that they can go back into society. And now we're in society where that guy just got yanked. Something just pulled him backwards to try to respond to me. Black and white horses with a checkerboard. That's a Freemasonic symbol. It's called Bad Idea. See perfect timing right here? No problem. Merry Christmas. Just snotty. Yo. No, when you haven't suffered, you pretend to suffer and you get caught in delusion.
How chicken and the beef lo mein?
Yes, thank you. Did I catch him? You can just pick it out like it's just living on them. Their ego is like a separate identity to who they are. So it sits out front. It's just like a little monster that sits outside their system. And that's what they're using as like a shield. It's like a filter, a block, or a muzzle that they have to breathe through. So I came in and I assessed that thing. And then usually there's this black angst that I can pick up. And I was only able to do it because the black and white of those horses remind me to embrace the 11 energy of perceiving the emotional state of everyone around me ingrained with the truth. How's that? So I did that, and that made me perceive these little white kids were pretending, and they were developing an addiction. So just off their spirit alone, just by being around them, I picked up immediately the vape, the loon, because I've looned for months. I know what that does to your spirit. I picked up the hint of an older brother with alcoholism. I picked up the hint that their parents were wealthy, but they would not have the same opportunities as their parents. So they were upset because they had to go to work, but they did not come from the ground. So there wasn't this pride of raising up towards the sun. There was this delegation sort of insubmittance to the will of their family because they're obligated to do something. Then you look deeper and I can see the class differences and the insecurity of the guy that was short, angry at me, and he started to question me, like look deeper at my emotional state. So I said, nope. When you haven't suffered, you pretend that you've suffered and you live in delusion. And then what I wanted to do was keep that same energy with the pretty Asian woman. But I think what came out was my grandfather's police authority. I don't know if you guys picked up on that. It could just be I'm a Sagittarius. It's like I try to empathize, but then I grow into this brighter structure, almost like I was taller in a past life, like I used to be a giant leader. And that sort of, I think it's probably one of your ancestors, one of my ancestors. That guy comes through. Now that I'm getting better at perceiving energy, it's very cool that you can see the support of your ancestors, how they keep you like helping hands, where they're able to play more because we're the continuation of them. So like when I see my dad and I meet my uncle, all my different uncles, I have 2 uncles that I met, and then I have an aunt, and she's a badass even though she's addicted. Just the way that they stand, the way they keep their head down, shows that it's like I'm able to see, in because of what I'm talking about, the common denominator between everything, to find that like hidden in between the lines of everything, to make a connection, to connect the dots. It's like I can, before I knew the phrase, you are the living continuation of your ancestors, you're not separate from them, you are them plus more. Like your father is your grandfather plus your father, plus your mother. Plus your grandmother. Maybe after your mother once they're bound by marriage or they've had sex. Here we have my abuser coming to patrol because I've been vocal on the internet tonight. Will he come towards me? No, he won't. He's gone. This place has been empty for 2 days. There's no reason for a cop to be down there. But it's dark. They can't see where I am. They don't know which road I'm on. And I told you that they're always trying to stop me from my meal. They won't bother me until I have food. But it's okay, guys. I'm just ranting because I'm walking. I hope everybody's having a Merry Christmas. This is like it's like a wave you can surf. I'm just talking shit. I'm saying things that are true and that are probably very valuable. But it's more like you throw it on in the background. And then occasionally you kind of like ride the wave a little more and it takes you further down the journey. And then the universe just seems to have things set up for me to make it more interesting. Like now I have enemies that are coming at me and doing things they shouldn't. So I have to uncover the truth about why they're doing that. And then there's a live lesson on sociological relationships. But for whatever reason, let's see what time it is. Because I'm 8. So they usually come later, but it is Christmas. What do you think they're looking for? The road hasn't even been plowed. And he was scoping around my stuff. What it is, guys. This is a lot bigger than I was expecting. I paid $20 for it. I didn't expect it to be so big. God, I saw a vision of a chicken. Does anyone here have chickens, or are they trying to get chickens? Or maybe the cop is a chicken. Maybe they're showing me the food that I'm about to eat is chicken, so they were showing me that thing was once alive. That sounds closer to what I'm doing. You can see sometimes I shift into an Irish accent because there's a spirit over me that when it talks, like it's like communicating with me, or like helps channel the energy, and that like bounce back of this thing next to me makes me sometimes speak in an Irish accent. I've never been to Ireland. I don't know any Irish people that are from Ireland, except one that I met at the top of a skyscraper. The last Irishman I met at the top of a skyscraper, and he said he was from the town that I marked as kind of the X in my journey, where I'm trying to get to at the end of this journey. I met him almost 2 years ago, and he said he was from that place. And then everyone that came to me when I was sitting at the top of that skyscraper was also from that place. And the things that they said to me, now that I've been to this end of the journey where I realize they're all me, and it's my mind. Here's that luminary that I talked about. See that bright glowing orb? That's not a star. And you can tell it's not a star because, do you see any other stars? You see, that's a planet. You can't see any of the other stars. You can see the planet up there. That might be Venus, I think. And you can see that random one that just popped up. That random one that just popped up is a ball of 0-point energy. It's a plasmoid, according to people, and that's what the drones are after. We're seeing drones everywhere because they're trying to test, disrupt, learn more about these plasmoids that supposedly are like the same way that I'm talking about my life is like this plasmoid right here, where it's an example of something that you can not divulge into, but learn more about. And as you learn more and more about it, you gain like infinite wisdom about the universe that allows you to be free. And I'm sure there's a saying in the Bible that Jesus said the exact same thing in his own words. Because that's really the only conclusion you can get to once you get high enough. And then I guess I got so high that I've learned to keep the entirety of the upstairs void, instead of having like this big, strong mindset that I used to hold on to and grow bigger. That's like your ego. Instead, like the crows don't even let me do it anymore. They show up. They're playing the song, "Oh, back when I was younger." And telling me that the last time I was here, I made a YouTube short about how I was going back through my memories to find my old self, to gain more in tune with who I actually am, to be able to shed off all the projections and relationships that have kind of left an imprint on me, that they seem to be preventing me from breaking out of very, very aggressively and consistently, where it's almost all the time. Here we have you can't see it. I can't zoom in. I'm holding this. It's the same cop. There's not like 6 on right now. It could be a different one, but I just don't see it. Where does that go? I guess it is a quicker route to the station if they were up in Hyde Park, so there might be another one. I'm just gonna assume that because the other one would assume that I'm being targeted for no reason. But I have my food now. We're gonna do a quick mukbang. I wanna read some comments. Merry Christmas, Sagittarius Goddess. I'm learning a lot about Sagittarius. Does it feel for you, if you're still here, does it feel for you that the thing that you find the most passion in has to do with some like momentum towards the future, where you have like a goal in your mind and you're actually like this momentous force going towards it? And then the rest, for me, I think that the rest would be kind of, you have your own individual themes and motifs around that action. So when they read tarot cards, when they pull up like Taurus energy, they have a phrase with it, which is I use. Taurus is use something to do something. And then I think that like Leo is I am. And then like Sagittarius is, it might be I know, or it might be I do, or I go. That there's like some implemented, that's just words to describe like a pattern in your consciousness that's housing your experience. So I'm learning about that, which is helping me in my relationship. So when I work through the town, there are people that come at me. So for whatever reason, let's say that there's a rogue invasive species that's grown for about 200 years here that came from Europe, probably 300 years now, and that's grown here. And then I'm introduced, which was like a chosen, destined embodiment, a kind of incarnation of an ancient god or something, or a king, or just a specific bloodline. Like my parents grew up 11 miles from each other, and the only time they were ever apart was for 11 years. And I was born on the 11th, and I was conceived on St. Patrick's Day, and I was supposed to be born on the winter solstice, but the shortest day in the year, but I came out on the 11th at midday, so the sun was directly above me, and my north node is in Leo, so my consciousness in general places the energy of the sun directly above me. And I'm born in the Celtic Firehawk, the Sagittarius, which is the Celtic Firehawk in astrology. And so I was taken from my mother, who was trying to kill me with the umbilical cord. And I was taken in a helicopter with the sun directly over my face. Directly over my head, sorry. I don't know why I say face so much. Probably because I have some like etheric tie blocking my face, like a face hugger. So like my autocorrect suggestions from the amalgamation of my ancestral spirits and whatever thousands of entities are working together in a higher dimension to cultivate this experience. When they drop a suggestion into my mind, like a prompt in ChatGPT to see what I can come up with based off of the circumstances I'm living inside in time, it shows face instead of head. And that helped me to identify that because I haven't been fasting or getting sunlight, I don't have any boundaries anymore. They've been whittled down. But that might be a schizophrenic thought. I don't know. That's just what's coming to me. And then when those things come to me, I feel a literal pressure, like there's something else pushing on my stomach. The same way that when I hide under this tarp, sometimes I'll feel like there's an alien that's mad at me. And then all of a sudden the wind will shoot my tarp. It'll go under this. See that? Where's it? Hear that bang? Did you hear it? Big bang next to me. And I was saying, last Christmas I gave you my heart, and the very next day you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special. Last Christmas I gave you my heart, and the very next day you gave it away. This year, to save me from tears, I'll give it to someone special. If you listen to the singing of people from this year, of like the best songs of this year, I think, they have this inflection in their voice that, this year, to save me from tears. I notice as I'm singing that the same frequency that the comes out is the same that these plasmoids are blinking. I don't know if there's probably something you can It seems like I talk about two things, and then there's like this unknown truth in between those things that I think is how the divine is coming down to give you guys like upgrades. So my mind goes to like, this thing is happening and this thing is happening. And then what tarot reading is that tarot readers are trained to be able to receive that higher level truth that they express to people. So like when I talk about, I say something and then a certain cop shows up, or these guys are going to pass each other directly in front of me. See how there was that car and this car? That for some reason, the entirety of their entire day led those two cars to pass each other directly in front of me, watching. If one was held back at a light just 2 seconds longer, they would have crossed right there. But they crossed directly by each other, directly down this road. See, as I brought that up, that example, that they should cross in other places, now they're just a little bit off, closer to the direction that I was looking when I was looking here towards that plasmoid. The problem is that no one will ever tell me if that's not real. Nothing will ever reveal to me that one truth that I know, which is that the environment outside my eyes is probably some type of artificial intelligence hallucination. And then every spiritual teacher I get, so I'll stumble upon Ralph Smart a couple years ago, he got me through COVID. He was like my only friend during COVID, I'm not gonna lie. Everyone else seemed to be crazy karmics that were coming at me all the time. And then he would drop things that I always knew, but I had nobody to ever tell me. So they call that the Maya, the illusion. Just like I had a cat named Maya that we called Mimi. And what was my dad's lawyer's name? Mimi. What's my lawyer's name? Mimi. Who was the only person that messaged me Merry Christmas? The only person that sent me a Merry Christmas message was some old woman named Mimi that I met 2 years ago because I was deported from Canada when I drove through illegally at the start of my journey. And I wound up around this Native American family in the middle of New York, in the sticks. So there was this family that lives way out there that I think their house had burned down or something, and they were in extreme poverty. So it was a whole family with like 3 cats and 3 kids, and an old man and woman who's now probably dead that I got to meet that she's very upset about. They're not simpletons. They're definitely a lot more loving than my family, but they called me the sexy guy. I'm December 11th. They would call me the sexy guy. Like, all the sexy guys going to the dollar store, because I'd leave the motel. And they always invited me in. And their kids had big crushes on me. So I was just trying to be like nice, kind. Mimi was the only person that messaged me Merry Christmas. Just like Mimi, my lawyer. Mimi, who was my dad's lawyer. And now I had a cat named Mimi, whose original name was Maya. That is another word for the illusion that this matrix outside of us is a caretaken experience, a reality we're perceiving that's co-created with an amalgamation of spirits, probably in some greater concept of Earth, some system that I hope honors us enough to keep our individuality when we go into it. Like, I hope that heaven is not that we get converted and brought down to base resources to be repurposed for something else. I hope that there's a continuation of us through infinity, that we go on for a lot longer than just this, and that we can kind of remember our times as who we are right now, fondly, like you'd look back at a classic album that you made. But that's just me. And I have voices in my head. But they're not in my head. They're coming from the forest. And when I look back at what was just talking to me, I see a light shining in the forest that quickly blips away when I, with my Sagittarian energy, shoot an arrow of what is that? That curiosity of the Sagittarius. I hit him with an arrow like, what is that? And then all of a sudden the light disappears. And then the cars will pick up and stuff like that. You notice how as my speech got busy, the cars got busy. They're passing each other just off. So you saw there was a loud noise of the alien that I talked about earlier, And then the two cars that I talked about where they're intersecting, they intersected exactly on opposite sides of the snowbank at the same, right after each other. As like a subtle dance that only I'm able to perceive, and that's called dramatic irony. And it's like one of the themes of what makes a novel. It's like a foundation of English that you learn, of literacy, is learning about dramatic irony, which is instilling the audience with a truth that the character doesn't yet know, so that the audience can wait in anticipation for what the character does if he ever learns. But you'll always know. So the truth bringer would be the one to kind of disrupt that dramatic irony by telling the character the truth. So what's beaming out of, so something that's above me that's coming down, like a hair of someone hanging upside down, or like a root or something that just shone a light that I was able to perceive coming from where these loud noises are coming from, to gain my attention over that way with my psychological torture that makes me think that every loud noise is somebody taking my power from me that's going to rape me. So when they do the loud noise to trigger me to lose my sense of self so that it goes to something else, and then I lose track of my mind and it, whatever. That thing just showed me an old dream that I had of when I was here, but I hadn't been here yet. I didn't know where this was. And I woke up and I looked over here at what is the mountains that isn't visible at night here. And I saw a bunch of these giant glowing streaks that I thought were like tadpoles or like sperm cells. And it was like millions of them all crossing each other that looked like Celtic knots, or the way that my hair is formed right now, where it's all messy together, but then it becomes ordered. And you realize that when your hair grows, if you don't touch it, the way that they morph together and kind of not conform, but like the order of my hair, you can't see it because it has like a protective layer, but then under it, right behind my head, like protecting my neck, my hair is grown into like the Celtic knots. It becomes Celtic spirals naturally. So I saw that in the sky, made of this golden color that I can't perceive and I can't draw and I can't find on the internet. It's this color that I've never seen before. It was this beautiful, like whitish golden light with something else to it. And I felt like kind of the cavalry had showed up. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but I woke up energized for like a week straight, just excited for what's happening, because I knew that those things were here to save me. And it just shone across the sky, this beautiful, like, whatever. Like this, to me, it felt like they were swimming up the firmament. So they came up the other side of the firmament on the waters against the dome, and they swam across the entire thing. And I felt like that was, I don't know, like I was being saved. And that was right here, but it was in the summertime. So I don't know, most of my other dreams have come true. Like the symbolism of those dreams became expressed in the overall theme of the time that I spent. It was just was represented by 3D objects in a dream that I moved through. Like I taught myself how to fly in my dream. I remembered how to control my body to fly, so that technically I could probably levitate if I spent enough time. I know how to do it. It was like it got activated in my system. That I don't see a reason why I can't. Then I flew above the mountains, and I saw that nestled in the mountains on the side was the Minecraft castle that I had built in 2013. And then I flew past the castle across this long distance that I felt was Los Angeles. I felt like I flew to LA, but really I just flew across this long distance to the end where I was brought on stage for the world to see. And it was me and all the different streamers. And it was like there was a bunch of people in the crowd that were excited to see me, of all people, up on stage with everybody else. And I was like off to the side, like I kind of had to ask. I was like, hey, do you mind if I come in here And then Gotham Chess was sitting on a throne, and he was like, "What's up, bro?" He was like really excited to see me. He was like, "Of course you can come up here. That's cool." So I was kind of shy. I stood off to the side, and then I felt all the recognition. And then that was way before I ever wanted to be a live streamer at all. I wanted to be I thought that I was going to be a kick streamer where I had to play a character and do all these things. But it was pretty much exactly like what happened. I humbly stepped into the spotlight on stage with everybody else. After the Minecraft castle, which is pretty obviously Vivek's cabin in the woods, or that could be represented by the YouTube channel of something I created, that I cultivated and built brick by brick. So there we go. Merry Christmas, everybody. I just talked about myself for a long time. I'm happy about it. It's my novel. It's my book. It's like you read my biography for a second. Sorry if it's not great content. I got to show you guys at least snotty kids that got to experience a Celtic god for the first time. If they're even real. Living in a homeless man. So, any suggestions? I guess I started over here. I'll stop over here. So I recorded a 10-minute video that I'm not going to post for 6 months, or I might post in like the summertime, just to see the difference, the contrast of what happened. But I was talking about how the Roman architecture looks a lot like how the ice is forming around the light. And this is my favorite part right here, is looking at the crystallization of the ice with the light. And then I liked how these are hewn like a pattern that you'd see in clothes because of the way that the structure is built. So I like that it's like a music note, like the flow of a song with the low of the icicles at the start and end, and then the middle ones are smaller. So when I'm walking down this, my mind is playing the song of the shape in the pattern, which is why I don't want to leave Vermont, because I liked how I was encapsulated by mountains, and I felt like the lines of the tops of the mountains were playing a song to me, like I was living in a song that was coming from the mountains, because I could see the pattern and the shape. And when I go to other places that are flat, that song doesn't exist, and it feels like I'm just going to float right into space. Which is, I think, why cats like to live in boxes when they're not allowed to go outside. Does that make sense? That's why cats get into small boxes. So I started here, I pissed right here. Then there was another luminary on this side that I showed you guys in the last video that I haven't posted. And now there's a luminary all the way over here for the next one. So that's been me. I'm here. This is where all the drama took place. This is right where they targeted me and attacked me illegally. Choked me with mace and then choked me with their hand. Forced me to get on my knees and suck a bottle of water to stop myself from dying, because they maced my whole face. For no reason other than he wanted to pour a bunch of concrete on the dirt. Does that make sense? I'm seeing a rabbit in the forest, hopping around. I'm seeing a moose behind the rabbit, and I'm seeing a gray alien in a Buddhist pose floating. Now I'm seeing a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex and Bigfoot. Now I'm seeing a flying squirrel. And now whatever was showing me that is now putting a giant royal cape over me, where I have the crown on and the red velvet with all the speckles that make it look like this. and the golden inlays on the borders and the insignia in a deep pattern, not like they overlaid or embroidered it on. It's more like it's indented into the fabric without stitching. So I don't know the clothing process to make that happen, but that's nice. I'm seeing a tarot reader that's reading my energy right now as we speak, and he's being that's why my voice pattern has changed, because I'm picking up on his energy and he's picking up on mine. So he's going to relay something to me at some point. And then usually as a thank you, I go in and give him something that makes him go, oh my God. And then I watch the video and I find the moment where he went, oh my God. And that's outside of space and time. So that might happen in 6 months. But he does say exactly what I pop in and suggest. So the same time that I go, oh my God, I'm assuming somebody else is giving me that eureka moment as we uncover the truth of the universe. With excited anticipation for something that we already know. Good night, everybody. Merry Christmas.